let's play the game that Shedeur Sanders gets past 2 and then gets past 3, and then, potentially the Raiders were there at 6, and that was, months ago, a juicy one, but they just gave Geno 66, 67 guaranteed, ballpark thereabouts. Tom, how does the Geno Smith contract affect the Raiders' thoughts at quarterback at 6?
Well, first of all, Andrew, the entire Geno Smith situation is really unique because based on the breakdown that Michael Florio had today, saying that it's $40 million in year one, that's the same number that Seattle offered him. And when he was, insulted by that number, wasn't willing to take it, they went, all right, we'll take a third-round pick, sign Sam Darnold, who's 10 years younger, for less money. Geno goes to the Raiders now, back with Pete Carroll, but essentially gets the same dollar figure. It's not a contract that in any way precludes you from drafting a quarterback. It does, however, give the Raiders optionality because they don't feel the pressure to take a quarterback. Back to what you said about Shedeur. If he doesn't go 2 and doesn't go 3, this is, and I'm not making predictions, this new Windows doesn't have the date on the thing. I always look down for the date. What are we, April 3rd? It is the
4th of April. April 4th.
Something like that, April 4th. Man, that's a bad update right there. April 4th, okay? I'm not making predictions about it right now, but you start to wonder, is this going to be one of those classic, he's not going to be in the green room, he's not going to the draft, but could this be one of those slides that we talk about in past years?
How about 9 and the Saints?
The other threats. So if we go down the list of the other threats to take one in round 1, you have the Raiders at 6, you have the Saints at 9, you have the Steelers at 21, and you have the Rams at 26. Those are really the only teams that I would foresee taking one in the first round. Like, those would include even the potential surprises. The Atlanta would have been in that category last year, even though it was shocking that they did it after signing Kirk. It was still within the realm of possibility. There's really only 6 or 7 teams. So if you don't go 1, 2, or 3, especially knowing the Browns and the Giants have a quarterback need, it really raises questions about exactly where is Shedeur going to go. I know that there are still our buddy Bucky Brooks still has him as the number 1 quarterback above Cam Ward. I would say Bucky is squarely in the minority on that. There are people who like Shedeur Sanders as a player, but it's not an elite arm. It's not elite athletic ability. There are other questions just about how it's going to fit in a program. He's an accurate passer. He certainly has some traits that are, give him the opportunity to be a really good NFL quarterback. But is he going to be an elite NFL quarterback? And that's part of what people are kind of grappling with over these final 20 days up until the NFL draft. When I said off the top, there's a better debate about who should be the number 2 quarterback versus number 1. I mean, there's a handful of quarterbacks who would go in the first, Andrew. Beyond Cam Ward, I don't think that there's a lock to go in the first. Shedeur, I would lean, goes in the first. But where does Jalen Milroe go? Where does Tyler Shuck end up going in this draft? Jackson Dart, who's with the Steelers today, is another one in that category. There's other quarterbacks like Quinn Ewers who have won a ton in their college careers. Where is the right place for him to go in this draft? I mean, these are all, I think valid questions. And there's going to be some, beauty in the eye of the beholder here. I don't believe that beyond Cam Ward being 1 on most, if not all, boards, I don't know that you're going to have a consensus 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of all these quarterbacks. And so there could be a ton of variability. I mean, I can't sit here and say right now Shedeur is even going to be the second quarterback off the board just because he's a completely different player than a Jalen Milroe, who does have the athletic traits, but doesn't have the consistent accuracy and the things as a passer here. Tyler Shuck, you've really got one healthy year of tape. He's like 25 years old, and he's got 4 different degrees. He played 7 years of college football, but he played pretty well last year. People have liked him through the process. And then obviously Jackson Dart in that category too. This is going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out. I think I talked to somebody I really respect in the league last week who said they don't think any of those guys I just mentioned of those 5 is going to go later than the top 2. So you could have some real maneuvering as we get later into the first round. But the pivot point for Shedeur Sanders is if he doesn't go 2 and doesn't go 3, then all bets are off of exactly, where that's going to end.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.